We know King Saul visited a witch. We know Samuel appeared. We know the prophecy came true the very next day. But most people never stop to ask the deeper question. How? How did a witch summon a genuine prophet of God? Was it truly Samuel speaking from the other side? Or was it something darker, wearing Samuel's face and speaking his words? To understand what really happened that night, you have to understand who Saul was and how far he had fallen by the time he walked through that door. Saul was not always a desperate man consulting witches in darkness. He started with everything, chosen personally by God, anointed by the prophet Samuel himself, filled with the Spirit of God, given every advantage a king could possibly ask for. But somewhere along the way, Saul began making different choices. Small compromises at first, then larger ones, then ones that could not be undone. He disobeyed a direct command from God and offered an unauthorized sacrifice rather than waiting for Samuel. He spared the enemy king that God specifically told him to destroy. He made decisions based on what the people wanted rather than what God commanded. And then came the moment everything changed. Samuel confronted Saul with words that still echo through history. To obey is better than sacrifice. Because you have rejected the word of the Lord, he has rejected you as king. From that moment forward, the Spirit of God departed from Saul, and something deeply troubling took its place. Years passed. The distance between Saul and God grew wider with every decision. And then the Philistine army appeared. Massive, organized, terrifying. Saul looked at the enemy and felt something he had never truly felt before: complete and utter abandonment. He inquired of God through dreams, nothing. Through the Urim, nothing. Through the prophets, nothing. The silence of God is perhaps the most terrifying experience described anywhere in Scripture. Not his anger, not his judgment, his silence. The God who had spoken to Saul throughout his entire reign simply stopped. And in that silence, in that desperate and terrifying darkness, Saul made his final, catastrophic decision. He disguised himself, traveled through the night, found a woman at Endor who practiced divination, and asked her to bring up Samuel from the dead. What happened next has divided theologians for thousands of years. The woman performed her ritual, and then she screamed, not because the ritual produced what she expected, but because something appeared that she did not expect. Something real, something powerful, something that frightened even her. Two major schools of thought exist about what appeared that night. The first says God intervened supernaturally and allowed the real Samuel to appear one final time, not to comfort Saul, but to deliver his death sentence personally from beyond the grave. This view points to the accuracy of the prophecy, the specificity of the message, the fact that everything Samuel said came true within 24 hours. The second view says a demonic spirit impersonated Samuel. That familiar spirits, beings that observe and study human lives, can mimic the appearance and voice and knowledge of the dead. This view points to the fact that God had already cut off all communication with Saul. Why would he suddenly restore it through a witch? But here is what both sides completely agree on. The message was accurate. The outcome was real. Tomorrow you and your sons will be with me. The Lord will give the army of Israel into the hands of the Philistines. The next day, it happened exactly as spoken. Saul's sons died in battle. Saul fell on his own sword and died on the same day. But the most haunting part of this entire story is not the witch, not the apparition, not even the prophecy. It is the silence that drove Saul there in the first place. The silence of a God who had been rejected one decision too many times. Saul did not lose God's presence in one dramatic moment. He lost it slowly, compromise by compromise, disobedience by disobedience, pride by pride, until one dark night, He found himself crouched in a witch's house, desperately trying to hear from a dead prophet, because the living God had nothing left to say to him. Guard your relationship with God carefully, because the most terrifying thing in all of Scripture is not a demon, not a witch, not even death itself. It is the silence of God towards someone he once spoke to clearly. Do not let that be your story.